Game time, put me in, coach. Today we are talking about the biggest headlines in the NBA. First, we're going to talk about Damian Lillard. What is he doing still playing with the Trailblazers? Got some interesting thoughts and comments on that. Number two, we're going to be talking about, would you trade Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons? It sounds good, but then you start to think about how it would work, or at least I start to think about how it would work. Then we're going to talk about, how do you feel about the suspensions that was given to Joker and Markieff Morris? This was very lopsided. Number four is, who is your early season MVP? Is it Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Ja Morant, Joker, PG-13? These are all guys who are having amazing seasons. I'm going to give you guys a nice breakdown on that. If you guys, are interested, I'll actually do an entire video on MVP and all of that. But I have a lot of stats here that I did write down. So let's go. Let's get into this video. Wait, first, before we do that, my goal is to reach 100 subscribers before December 31st. I know that's a big goal, but it's my goal. Click that subscribe button. And after you do that, like the video. And then after you do that, share this video, because here you're getting basketball knowledge. We're going to cover the biggest stories in the world of basketball, and you're going to get game analysis all in the same video. Number one, what the hell is Dame still doing with the Trailblazers? They have given him a get out of jail free card. He's going to have his jersey put in the rafters. He is already a Trailblazer legend because he has put them and kept them on the map. He is at the end of his prime, and he's a small guard who relies on his athletic ability, which we all know it begins to slowly decline the older you get. And Damian Lillard, I believe, is now about 30 years old. So he's on the other side. We all look at LeBron James and we marvel at just how great he is and what he's able to do. But people forget, LeBron is about 6'8", maybe 6'9" with shoes on. He's slowed down a few steps. He doesn't jump as high, but he's still tall. Damian Lillard is not that. And Damian Lillard has to kind of be kicking himself in the ass because he actually had the opportunity to be a Laker before Russell Westbrook. So it would have been LeBron, AD, and Damian Lillard. Oh my goodness. But I'm sure Damian Lillard is looking at himself now and just wondering what could have been. But maybe Damian Lillard is really that loyal to the soil. Trailblazers understand, hey, we got a brand new coach, right? We're going to have to make some changes because we're not doing that good in free agency. The best players that we get are the guys that we draft. And it takes those guys at least 3 to 4 years to actually turn into the guy that we want them to be. We don't really get the LeBron Jameses, the Carmelo Anthonys in their prime. We don't get the Kevin Durants, the Russell Westbrooks, the Steph Currys, right? We end up getting guys at the end of their primes. And if you check their history, you'll see that. It's not just the rule changes that are affecting Damian Lillard, meaning they're not really calling fouls. A lot of guys are able to foul Damian Lillard because the referees aren't calling them. They changed it, which I can kind of understand because James Harden was just making a mess out of basketball. And they also changed the ball. Jason Williams, one of the commentators for ESPN, gave an amazing breakdown. When you're doing a reverse layup, right, you use your fingers to actually guide where you want the ball to bounce off of the backboard. Now the ball has a particular spin on it, so by the time it hits the backboard, now it catches and it's going to where you want it to go. A lot of players practice that. Me being a trainer, I teach children that, right? Because you have to really, really work on your fingers to get that finger roll to be nice and pretty and sweet. Paul George also gave a breakdown saying, look, I don't want to make any excuses, but this ball, you guys are going to see a lot of bricks and a lot of misses because the ball is different. And here's my breakdown. Here's my understanding of what both men said. Number one, the ball it has a different touch to it. Not only does it have a different touch to it, it doesn't have the same grip. So, using Jason Williams' analogy, when the ball is spinning and it hits the backboard, guys are, used to putting a certain spin on it to where when it hits the backboard, it's going to come back to the rim. But in Jason Williams' breakdown, what he basically said is because that grip is no longer there, when a guy goes up to do that same layup, the ball's going to hit the backboard and it's going to go in a different direction. Which may be the reason why Russell Westbrook is missing so many layups and so many shots. He needs to go learn how to shoot the damn ball. Would you trade Ben Simmons for Jaylen Brown? This is a hard one because on paper it sounds great. Trading an all-star for an all-star. There's a problem on both sides. Now, when you're talking about the Celtics getting Ben Simmons, okay, you get a tall point guard that's a defender, and Jaylen Brown was a defender, but Jaylen Brown was also one of the leading scorers for the Celtics. Actually, if he's not first, he was definitely second. And Ben Simmons has not proven that he's going to be the second or the third, maybe the fourth or the fifth scoring option on a team. So that's going to hurt you on the offensive end. Now, defensively, you may be able to do some things, but offensively, I don't know that. Now, when we talk about the Sixers, okay, you get Jaylen Brown, but who's going to be the facilitator? Once again, Jaylen Brown is a great defender, but who's going to get Jaylen Brown the ball? On top of that, who's going to get Embiid the ball? And guess who's still there? Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris, Jaylen Brown. Who's going to make sure that those guys still put up the numbers that they put up? Jaylen Brown putting up about 26 points a game. What guard do the Sixers have that's going to make sure that Jaylen Brown is still putting up his all-star numbers? Because if you trade those two players and their production isn't there, it's going to look like you lost the trade. So I'm not real sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure what team that works out better for. I would say it's an interesting trade, but it's probably not a trade I would make unless I have a trade where maybe I go get one of them damn point guards from the Orlando Magic, right? Because I already did a video where I explained that they have like 5 lottery picks that are point guards. Markelle Fultz, Anthony Cole, RJ Hampton, Jalen Suggs, and I think there was somebody else. But I'm going to just say there's 4 lottery picks that the Orlando Magic have. So, maybe the Sixers are going to be smart and go get one of those point guards. I don't know. Now, when you're talking about the Celtics, Marcus Smart already said we have a problem on the offensive end. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown aren't the only guys who can score on this team. Offense is a problem for the Celtics. So that's a compounding problem going to get Ben Simmons, because then what's Smart going to do? Are the Celtics also prepared to trade Marcus Smart? Because if you bring in Ben Simmons and Ben Simmons is the facilitator, what are you going to do with Marcus Smart? Is he going to be okay playing a secondary role to Ben Simmons? I don't know. That's going to be very, very interesting. If those teams make those trades, they're going to have to make another trade to fill the void of what their teams would be missing. Joker and Markieff Morris. Now, the reason why I think the suspension was very, very lopsided is simply because Joker is missing a game, whereas Markieff Morris is only having to pay a fine of $50,000. Now, let me give you guys perspective on this. This was a tactic that the old guys in the NBA back in the 80s and the 90s used to use, where they would have a man on the bench who they would come to and say, hey, we need you to foul this guy. We need you to get in his head. We need you to fight him so we can get him off the court. Why is this important? Well, because Joker was the MVP last season. Markieff Morris is a journeyman. He's not even a starter for the Miami Heat. If he misses a game, it's not going to affect the Miami Heat like it's going to affect the Nuggets, because Joker does so much for the Nuggets that when he's not there, that void is going to be huge. And most fans, they're looking for the big names. Joker is Shaq and Charles Barkley also kind of echoed my sentiments when they both said, hey, wait a minute. First of all, that's a dirty play. You cannot run up on the guy and chop him in his ribs and then turn your back to him. Because even in the NBA, guys are at least going to run up on you. A few words is going to be exchanged. Maybe the guys break them up before Joker reaches them. Something is going to happen. You're not just going to hit a guy extremely hard and then turn your back to him. Now, once again, I just think that it would have been fair if they would have went ahead and just suspended Markieff Morris because, come on, let's be honest, guys. We want to see basketball, not injuries, not guys getting hurt, not hard fouls at the end of games when it does not matter. That's why coaches have to get their players out of the game. If they don't, they risk injury. This is one of those plays where, hey, that coach in Denver can lose his job because if his team starts to lose, guess who they're going to blame? Because if you watch my channel, you're going to see I blame the coach a lot because the coach has a lot to do with the game strategy, the team strategy, right? What are we doing on offense and defense? Now, if you don't have your star player, man, in me coaching youth sports, when you don't have your best player, it's hard to win games. So imagine that being in professional sports where guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Completely different thing. Now, we're going to go right into the MVP discussion. Who do you guys have as your MVP? Well, I'll go ahead and I'll name a few names or guys because I've done a little research here. So you got Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, Ja Morant, PG-13, Joker, and DeMar DeRozan. Now, there's some legitimate arguments that could be made for DeMar DeRozan because the Bulls are number 2 in the East. There's also could be some legitimate arguments made for PG-13 because Kawhi Leonard is not there. And they just got Ibaka back, and Ibaka looks horrible. Ibaka looks horrible. Giannis is not in the discussion right now because his team is doing extremely bad. They're doing so bad. Giannis said, I thought we was tanking and trying to get the number 1 pick in the draft. Coach is once again on the hot seat after going through all of that stress and trauma, making it to the NBA Finals and winning the NBA Finals. Now I'm sure his coach now is in the hot seat again because the Bucks look horrible. Okay, and I understand they got a few injuries, but a big blow to them was them letting PJ Tucker walk. I know everybody is going to jump on the bandwagon and say Kevin Durant, and I was going to say Kevin Durant too, but then I start to see, wait a minute, Steph Curry is balling. Steph Curry is reintroducing himself to you guys, letting you guys know, hey, wait a minute now. You see all these guys shooting from the logo? They're doing that because of me. That's what Steph Curry has said. 50 points, I am still the guy. He's showing you that so much that his team has only one game. Number 1 team in the NBA. Klay Thompson and James Wiseman are not back yet. Those two are going to be integral parts in what the Warriors do offensively because James Wiseman is pretty athletic and he has some scoring ability where he can shoot a few jump shots, he can get to the basket. He's pretty dependable. That's tall, that will block shots. He's not a liability. Then you have Klay Thompson coming back. If you thought it was a problem worrying about Steph, it's going to be a bigger problem worrying about Steph and Klay because Draymond knows how to pass it to both of those guys, but he's also going to pass it to James Wiseman or Jordan Poole because Jordan Poole has been aggressive this year. The reason I'm picking Steph Curry is simply because of his reemergence. Like the things that he's been doing this year outside of that first game against my Lakers, he's been sensational. And Ja Morant, he's extremely good. He's been putting on the show, but his team is just, they're number 5. They're in the middle of the pack. And I know this is the beginning of the season, so I'm sure all of these records are going to change as the months and the weeks and the days go by. The Bulls, right? People have to make a legitimate argument for DeMar DeRozan because the Bulls are number 2 in the East. Who would have thunk? Well, I knew the Bulls would be good, but that's only because they went and got Lonzo Ball, a reliable passing point guard. Then they went and got DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso. Now, DeMar DeRozan, a great mid-range scorer. Plus, he's athletic. You already had your number 1 option with Levine, and then you have a really good scoring big man and Vucevic. Listen, the Bulls are going to be okay. And then you have Alex Caruso coming off the bench. Well, now I'm kind of wondering, how does Kobe White feel about all that? Because Kobe White was one of those high draft picks as a point guard. And the fact that he's now being overshadowed by Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, I don't know how he's going to take that. But the competition is definitely going to be on in Chicago. The reason why I don't have Kevin Durant at the top of my list is because Brooklyn is number 7. Now, I get it. Kyrie is out. But my thing is, could you really depend on Kyrie even if he wasn't taking the stance that he's taking? And then James Harden is having the same issue that Damian Lillard is having, but actually James Harden is struggling the most because of his hamstring and because of the rule changes, meaning they don't call those fouls that they have been calling for James Harden through his MVP seasons with the Rockets. His foul shooting has dramatically dropped. Giannis, I would love to say Giannis because of his numbers, but Giannis, his team is doing horrible. His coach has to be on the hot seat because Giannis even said in an interview, man, I thought we was tanking. I thought we was going for the number 1 pick in the NBA draft lottery. Y'all let PJ Tucker go, pairing him with Drew Holiday. That allowed Giannis to actually play weak side defense, which means he gets to come over and block the shot after Drew and PJ Tucker have spent their hard energy defending whoever has the ball. Again, the Brooklyn Nets are at number 7. Giannis his team is, at the making of this video, his team is number 9. Ja Morant, I love him. The guy's been putting on a show. He is amazing. But the problem with him is he needs some help, because when he's having these amazing games, he needs somebody there. Maybe, and I'll go ahead and blame this on Jaren Jackson Jr. because he needs Jaren Jackson Jr. to be an all-star. Forget about Donovan Mitchell. His team with the Utah Jazz, if you take him off the Utah Jazz, where would the Utah Jazz be? At the bottom of the league. Probably one of the worst teams in the league. So Donovan Mitchell cannot be overlooked. But again, my early pick for MVP based on the stats right now is Steph Curry. Steph Curry's team is number 1 in the NBA, sitting at 9-1 at the making of this video. So, with all of that being said, let me know if there's anything you disagree with in this video, or if there's anything you do agree with in this video and you want me to expand on. Comment under this video below. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.